Hello and welcome to episode 1 of Crunchy's Decompression Chamber. This is named after a series of the same name by Digi's Decompression Chamber. Or at least the person who was once Digibro. Most of the ideas on this second channel just seem to come from Digibro. The rants, which are now defunct, and I'm also super late on a bunch of them. On the very last round, still haven't gotten around to them. And then the making ofs, they're not directly inspired by Digi per se, but the idea of just talking into a microphone and making listenable content of this nature was inspired by Digi. And that goes for, my random prattlings about society and the nature of the world that I've done very, very occasionally. That was definitely inspired by Digi. But we're back, and the reason why I'm making this series, or I don't even really know if it'll be a series, because I can never keep my word with stuff like that. But the reason why I wanted to do this was because while I was working on the Nyan Neko Sugar Girls video, I ended up listening to almost all of Digi's Decompression Chamber. I only have half an episode left that I haven't listened to, and the only reason why I haven't listened to it yet is because I just haven't had work to do that I can listen to a podcast during. I've still been doing work, but it's all been stuff that requires a bit more attention, or to listen to myself speak in order to time things properly. It hasn't been the kind of plug-and-play stuff that I associate with having a podcast in the background of. And another reason why I'm making this is because after making, it's not really after making, I'll explain more later, but over the course of making the Nyan Neko Sugar Girls video, I've realized that I'm beginning to run out of listenable Digibro content. Granted, I can still listen to the old Let's Plays that Digi did. I have barely gotten into those, and I've been told, or not told by other people, but Digi has said that they're basically just podcasts, that the game itself is irrelevant, and that you really should just listen to them for the most part, although some people do watch them. And that is, that does give me a bit of hope that maybe I will still have many hours of content that I find enjoyable left to listen to from Digi. But I've finished The Whirling Dervish, and I've nearly finished Decompression Chamber. I've listened to all of the Gecko Estate. All the weird stuff that Digi made. This is extremely fringe. You have to be very deep in the trenches of Digi in order to find this content. And it really got me thinking that after this, after finishing all of Digi's listenable content, because it's gonna happen eventually, it has to happen, I will no longer have listenable content that is as enjoyable as that. I'll still be able to re-listen to it, and it will still be fun to do so, because when you're listening to something, you're not giving it your full attention. You're gonna forget more stuff. It's not going to stick with you as long. And so I can re-listen to some of these as if it's my first time going through them, without really losing much. But if I want to get, the impact of listening to it for the first time, I'll never have that again with these old, listenable videos that I've already gone through. And there's no one else I know of that does it quite like Digi does. And even if there was another person, I just wouldn't, I'm already entrenched in Digi as a person, And so it's very easy to put on a podcast by Digi because I know what I'm getting into. I understand what this is about, who this person is. I'm invested in the narrative. But for another random person, it just doesn't hit the same. And I'm not sure how many other people there are like me out there. How many other people only find Digi to be worthy, listenable content? Because I've tried listening to Trash Taste, to fucking the official podcast. That was the one I was thinking of. The official podcast is boring as fuck. And there were some episodes where I was like, I'm kinda enjoying this. If I just, haze out and don't really think about it too much, I can find enjoyment in this. But it's just a bunch of guys talking about nothing. It's fucking nothing. It's nothing. And it's that realization that's just like, I need something of substance in my listenable content. I enjoyed Canton as a review show, as an anime analysis show, but how many other podcasts are out there like that? Maybe there's one that I just haven't discovered yet, and that when I do discover it, it will be the best thing I've ever listened to. But I haven't found it yet. And no one that I know of does these sort of random spiraling tangents about just whatever the way Digi does. Digi, there's a lot to not respect about the guy, nowadays gal. There's a lot to say, like, well, you're being a fucking idiot there, and you're kind of an asshole here, and, blah, blah, yada, yada. There's some things that I find very cringe about Digi's outlook, but the one thing I really respect about Digi more than anything is her ability to speak off the cuff, because it is something that I've struggled with my entire life. It sounds, I sound pretty put together right now, despite being tired as shit, and I'll be talking about that more later. I sound pretty put together, but I'm never as coherent as Digi, and it's definitely a skill that I can hone. But especially on podcasts with other people, I don't know why I said podcasts plural, I just go on Castaway Anime. And you can sense it. I say the same words over and over again. Recently I was listening to the first episode of the Castaway Anime reboot, because yes, I am at the point with listenable content where the only things I can listen to are Digi and my own fucking podcast, because the new format is great. I think that episode of the podcast is the best one we've ever done, more than likely. There's probably some random recording we've done that's more enjoyable, but god damn it, like the discussion we had on that episode, I think it's just the framing. Everything changed with the framing, and now it's great. It's really hard to do the podcast because I'm running out of time, but now was the time for it to get better. Now was the time for the format change, because without that, I'm not sure how compelled I would feel to stick with it. There was a point where I was like, maybe I should quit this podcast. It's taking up, not that much time, but enough that it is an inconvenience. And even like these next few days especially, there's a part of me that's like, man, if only I didn't have to do this fucking podcast. But it's good now. I mean, it was always good, but it's good enough that I now want to listen back to every episode, which is something I never wanted to do before. And maybe it'll get stale again, but right now I don't see that happening. I really think the new format has changed a lot. We're 10 minutes into this recording, and I have already gone on a way different tangent than I expected to. And I also forgot to mention one thing about what I plan for this series, which is the schedule. Now, I can never stick to these. I am awful with schedules, but I want to release, at the very least, 2 of these each month. One for the public to see, and one for my patrons. The ones for the public to see are really just the ads for the Patreon. And I guess I've also sort of skimped out on talking about what this even is, though, after 10 minutes of me prattling on, you've probably already gotten a sense of what it's like. It's the decompression. That is what it is at its core. When I'm up in my feels, or when I just need to get something out there, when I need to just speak my mind, get all the stuff going on in my head out there into the world, that is the decompression. And back in the day, I used to do this via my diary. Anytime my thoughts would pile up, I would just put them out, all of them out onto the page. But I don't have time for that anymore. And making it into a podcast is, entertaining for you, hopefully. And also, it's easier for me, and I get more out of it by doing that, and I can justify it more to myself. I tried to get back into my diary, because I haven't really updated it since January, and then a few days ago I tried writing in it again, and I got about 2 days straight, and then I was like, man, I don't have the time for this. And even now, I'm only recording this because today I promised myself I wouldn't work on the video, and so I'm not working on the video, and so I'm recording this instead. And also, because I can listen back to this while I'm editing the video, and it'll be way more fun than whatever the fuck else is on YouTube. And then I'll be able to go longer without needing to dig up the trenches of digi content, because Lord knows, there's a lot of it out there, and the totality of it, I'm probably only 50% of the way through the stuff that's worth listening to. But someday, there'll be so little of it that what little there is left, I will have to just go wildly searching for. And it's not like any new content worth listening to is coming from Digi. Emphasis on worth listening to. Goddamn. So, what I really wanted to talk about today, and what was getting me up in my feels enough to need to decompress about it, is a line from Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid that Neon quotes all the time, and because he quotes it all the time, I now have it stuck in my head too, especially because Dragon Maid is basically my favorite show. And it goes something like this: you don't become an adult, you just get to a point where you can't be a kid anymore. And I am here to say that I have become an adult. At 20 years old, I have become an adult. At 18, I wasn't an adult. At 19, I wasn't an adult. At 20, I am now an adult. And I know some of you may be listening being like, there's probably half of you that are like, well, 18 is when you're legally an adult. What the fuck do you mean you weren't an adult at 18? And the other half of you are like, whoa, don't go so fast there, something may change. There may be a point where you really become an adult, and then you look back on this revelation and go, well, that wasn't being an adult. This is being an adult. And it all depends on the semantics of how you define the word adult, and it's all really goofy and pointless, and none of it actually matters. The point is, using this definition of the word that I have just said, I am an adult now. And the reason why that's important is because it has marked a radical change in how I view my life and how I live my life. and just everything that's going on nowadays. The fact that I cannot be a kid anymore. Because when I was 18 and 19, I still had a lot of free time, and it was up to me to make the most of that time, and I did not. I really regret a lot of the time I spent not working, because there were periods of time where I'd consistently work maybe 3 to 4 hours a day for, like a couple weeks on end. I just could not get myself to work consistently. And, okay, so the story went that I was, at a certain point, demotivated about art, about YouTube. And I eventually decided this year, I'd been avoiding it for a long time. I didn't want to get a job. I really didn't want to. But this year I was like, fuck it. Let's get a part-time job. Because I told people, hey, I want money. And while that is true, that's not really the reason. Because I've now reached a point where I've bought everything I want. I am set. Unless something breaks, I am set. I bought my PC, I bought monitors for it. I still haven't set up the monitors, even though they just came in yesterday. I should really set them up, but I'm lazy. And by lazy, I mean tired. I'm not actually lazy. I keep saying I'm lazy. I'm not fucking lazy anymore. Trust me. But I have everything. I even tried getting a Shure SM7B because my AT4040 was messing up. Me and Neon think we've found the answer now. Hopefully. We think it's the cloud lifter, where, the AT4040 doesn't actually need a cloud lifter, and so, we think we've been using that erroneously, and that convoluted the path of the signals to my computer, yada yada, etc., etc. And so, hopefully, it records fine now. It's just plugged into the Scarlett Solo. Though I'm not recording on an AT4040 right now, I'm actually on my Yeti. Just because it's easier. It's slightly more convenient, and I don't care about audio quality in this as much. Where was I? Yeah, right. Becoming an adult. Working. I got my job, and I bought everything I wanted. Money now does not mean anything to me, because I don't pay rent, I pay for the gas I use, but I could always just not drive. If I didn't have my job, I would not need to drive. And so, I could get my expenses down to the point where they're zero, and then not live with a job anymore. But I really want to do that, because getting a job was everything I feared it would be. I no longer have any free time whatsoever, and the Neon Neko Sugar Girls video, which you hopefully know I'm making, because I've talked about it constantly, that video has made me realize the value of free time, and just how much I was throwing it away, and just how much work I have cut out before me right now in getting this video out in a timely manner, with having a job. Now, thankfully, I got some time off. I got some unpaid time off, and the request got granted. I have 5 days, actually tomorrow up to the end of August. I can work on the Neon Neko Sugar Girls video. And I'll work on it all day, every day. I'll even work into the night. I'm going to throw away my sleep schedule in order to get this not out by the end of the month. That was the goal I said I was going to try to meet. That's impossible. It's done. It's done for. We're not getting it out before the end of the month. Not even just to patrons. my current goal, I'm doing this, I'm moving the goalposts, because when I set the deadline for this video, like I said, I break a lot of deadlines. I don't abide by schedules very well. Even nowadays, with my increased work ethic, I do not abide by schedules very well. But, I set a deadline and I break it, and I set so many deadlines and break them all. But there always comes along a deadline that feels real. And when it feels real is when breaking it will make me upset with myself. And right now I'm at that deadline. If I do not get a certain amount of work done by the end of the 31st, I will be very disappointed with myself. And at first that was uploading it to patrons, then it was getting a rendered version of the video out, but I keep moving the goalposts as I realize, I'm fucked, I can't actually do that much in my remaining time. So now it's become begin rendering hell. If I can get everything in the video done, except laying down all the music tracks and then rendering it, I will be satisfied. And that's about as far down as I think it can go with me not feeling bad about moving the goalposts, right? Because it's already a fairly significant departure. Because rendering for me always takes fucking forever, but it's also very variable, which is why I feel comfortable saying, hey, you don't have to render it before September 1st, because that could take either one render or 15, depending on how many editing errors there are. There will be a lot for this, because it's long as shit. Depending on how many rendering errors there are, which you can't control, and will bring up the time significantly. Now, thankfully I have a new PC, but, it could still have a stray rendering error or two. It's a huge project. But hopefully it doesn't. Hopefully my new PC holds out, because it's just that much better. And so, because it's so variable, yeah, I feel comfortable putting it off. But the point is, I need to get that much work done by the end of the month. And, without the job, it would be significantly easier. But with the job, all of a sudden, 20 to 30 hours a week gone. And it's tough. It is everything I feared it would be. It's not even necessarily that it's soul-sucking work. If you don't know, I work in a kitchen. I am on my feet all day. I bend over constantly and, kneel, all that stuff. And I'm just rushing around this kitchen, back and forth, making food, doing dishes, staling out food, picking up buckets of dough. It's, it doesn't sound like a lot, but you have to realize, A, I am not a very physically inclined person, as you might be able to expect from me, just making videos all day in my spare time, sitting down. But you have to realize that I don't sit down on this job. I rarely get breaks, only if I'm working with someone else, which is not common, because corporate cut our hours. Everyone's hours except me, it seems. I still work the same as ever. It's just that I don't do it with people anymore. And so it's much harder to actually get everything they expect me to do during my shift done. And that requires, a lot more rushing around and a lot more being efficient with how you use your time. And at the end of it all, I come home exhausted, and then I work more. I'm like, no, this isn't good enough. I need to work on this fucking video and get it done in a timely manner. It's essentially like I have a full-time job, and then on top of that, I have the part-time job of working at this restaurant. And it's gotten to a point where the reason why I had today completely off, completely clear. First of all, because I had to play Castaway for the podcast, because it fits with our name, Castaway Anime, haha. And I actually didn't beat the game. I actually rage quit, because I think the third boss is complete bullshit, and I hate it, and I'm honestly probably not even gonna beat the game. It's a short game, and I think I'm, like, near the end, but I hate this boss, and I honestly think it's funnier if I comment and say, no, this boss is bullshit, I hate it. And, you know, that's my take on the game. I actually still haven't watched My Adventures with Superman, the last 4 episodes of it. And the reason why is because, like, by the end of playing Castaway, I was so unbelievably tired that I was like, I don't even know if I'll be able to focus on the show. And the thing is, about 2 hours ago, I was drinking caffeine. Maybe slightly more than that. Maybe like 2.5 hours ago. I drank a Starbucks, a Kickstart, a cold brew coffee, all of that after work, and that was within 5 hours. And within 5.5 hours, I had those 3 things. That is, like, near the daily caffeine consumption amount already. Except also this morning, I had a Kickstart and caffeinated soda that they let you get from the fountain for free where I work. And so, I've definitely gone over the recommended daily caffeine limit that the World Health Organization prescribes. I'm really caffeine tolerant, so I think I can handle it. And that still isn't enough to revive me, because I don't have breaks. If I have a day off from work, I spend it making videos. If I have I don't have time to just watch the things I want to anymore. And I want to get this video out so that it doesn't dangle over my head anymore. So that I can finish it, and then I can get it out, and then I don't have to think about it anymore. And then for the next probably week or 2, I'm not going to start any more projects. Unless it blows up, and then I'll immediately start the next one and make it as quickly as possible. You know, if I get a video that gets 100,000 views, I need to follow it up now. Like, that isn't optional. If I want this to work out, I can't waste time. And I have a feeling this one will get big. You know, this might age poorly, because I haven't released it yet. But I think it'll get big. Because it's just really good. It's a really good video, and it's a really good story, and I tell it in the best possible way. But that kind of gets me to my next issue. Because, okay, the amount of work is driving me insane. I feel like I've been beating around that point. And it's probably because today is the best I've felt in a while. It's just that I'm really sleepy. That's not too bad. People are sleepy all the time. I'm sleepy all the time. It happens. But that doesn't take into account I just spilled some of my water. God damn it. But that doesn't take into account the endless amount of stress that I have endured from trying to get this video out on time, from being chronically underslept, and because, you know, the longer a project goes unreleased, the higher my standards for it become. The longer a video is, the higher my standards become. Because I look at a 2-hour video, and I think to myself, okay, this is clearly something that has a lot of effort put into it. And if I saw that as a viewer, that would be my first thought. And so I need to reach the viewer's expectations, and also my expectations, as my alarm on my phone is going off. Whatever. But also I need to meet my expectations as if I were viewing the video, as a viewer of my own work. And so it builds on itself to the point where it can't just be, it's really long, but the editing is kind of shit. It has to be, it's really long, and it's the best researched video on this subject that is even possible, really. And it has tons of unique visual gags, and it's really funny, and I put a lot of effort into it. And that's what the Nyan Neko Sugar Girls video has become. And the way I planned it out, I actually kept this in mind. So it's split across 5 chapters, technically 7, because there's an intro and an outro, and the outro's pretty long. It's like 8 minutes, probably. I haven't recorded it yet, but I know it'll be around that based on the script length, so it's pretty fucking long. And the way I planned it out is Chapter 1 will be pretty simple, Chapter 2 will be a bit more complicated, Chapter 3 will be the most crazy chapter visually. I have this insanely time-intensive gag that I do throughout the whole chapter, and thankfully I have finished that. I have finished the hardest chapter to edit. And so I knew going into the video that from that point forward, I will be exhausted. And so I planned it so that chapters 4 and 5 don't really have crazy gags like chapter 3. Chapter 4 is pretty plug and play. Chapter 5 is long as shit, but extremely plug and play. And then the very ending outro is going to be a bit more intensive visually, but I can probably, just have to record a few things. But other than that, it shouldn't be too bad. That's the way I planned it out. And so, yeah, I'm sort of getting sidetracked because the way I decompress is to just talk about everything, every little errant thought that comes to mind, and so it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense when I just say it, but the point I'm building to is I've been unbelievably stressed because of how high the standards for the video have gotten, but it's going to go down for these next couple chapters. And I need to let myself have lower standards for these 2 chapters, which is difficult when you're built like me. Because I've gotten to the point where, okay, audio. I am extremely dissatisfied with my audio. Now, the audio for this video is not very good, but that's because I don't care. For a side channel video, the audio can be shit, and it doesn't matter. Right now, I am recording in my car with a Yeti next to a rattling AC outside the window of my parents' bedroom. This would be completely unacceptable for the Nyan Neko Sugar Girls video. Now, originally, I recorded it AT4040 in my car, far away from the AC so that it wouldn't pick it up. But then over time, I don't like how the acoustics of audio recorded in a car sounds like. Now, no one cares. Nobody cares except me. I've gotten extremely popular videos with audio recorded on a Yeti in a car. My biggest video was recorded like that. And I didn't even master the filters yet. I didn't even know what a limiter was. And so, it is provable that it does not matter. I mean, it matters a little bit, but in the grand scheme of things, I can still get 300,000 views with that. But I'm a perfectionist. And so, got to a point where, so I was trying to use my brother's room as a recording studio, because he just left for college. Now, my mom sees this, and she tattles, She fucking tattles. And my brother's like, hey, yo, don't let that fucker use my room. He didn't say it like that. Probably. But he wasn't happy about it. So, Mom tells me, hey, your brother doesn't want you using his room as a recording studio. Now, this might have been a blessing in disguise, because even in the brief testing I'd done, I thought the acoustics were shit compared to my room. My room is next to a pretty busy road for middle of nowhere Illinois standards. And so while I was doing some test recordings, some fucking, I don't even know what was going on, but people were just roaring around in motorbikes or motorcycles. And I was like, God fucking damn it, that's gonna get in the recording. But upon hearing that, I was really pissed. Really pissed. I was like, dude, it's just red tape stopping me from recording in here. It's just because my brother doesn't want me to. He doesn't even live here anymore. He's only gonna be here for like the holidays and shit. Why does he need me out of his room? He took everything important with him to college. No, there's no secrets in here anymore. I don't think. And if there are, I don't care. So I was really mad. And so what I do is I go into my bedroom, tear everything off the walls. Everything. Every last bit of decoration I have in my room, I take off the walls. I take it all down in a rage. And then take every spare blanket in the house that I can find and nail them to my walls to improve the acoustics of my room so that I can record there. And you know what? Fucking worked. Now, my room sounds nice and crisp, and my voice, I can do my voiceover in my room now. I finally have good acoustics in my bedroom. And I bought a second pop filter, and so I can get real close to the mic, turn the gain down real low, and record into the mic. This is how far I'm going to get, 2% better audio. Audio that, if you put it in front of the average person, the average stupid YouTube viewer, they're not going to be able to tell the difference. But I know the difference. And I know that the car acoustics drive me up the fucking wall with how bad they are. The only reason I'm, recording here right now is because the house is full and people make noise, and because I don't care about this video, so, I figure if you're the type of person to enjoy this, you're not gonna care that the audio is not very good. You're just gonna care about what I have to say and what my life is like. And so, yeah, I get into erratic moods like that because of the stress this project has caused me. It's made me realize that this is completely unsustainable. For a long time, I've romanticized this idea of working constantly. I've been like, man, if only I could pull an all-nighter. I constantly think about all-nighters, because the theory of an all-nighter is so alluring. You give up just a little bit of sanity for one night. You work all night into the next day, and then crash at the end. And you have this big block of extremely focused work for over, however long it is before you crash, at, preferably evening next day. Just this huge amount of focused work, theoretically. And all of a sudden, an extremely daunting project becomes not very daunting. Maybe you finish it during that all-nighter. I've only really had one successful all-nighter in my life. Actually, two. If we're counting every possible thing that could have an all-nighter attached to it, I've had two. One was during COVID when we were doing online schooling, and I put off every fucking assignment till the last minute. And then I did them all in the span of 2 days, over an all-nighter. And I actually wasn't that tired. I felt fine. I was a little tired, but after staying up all night for the first time in my life, I was like, man, this is great. I got everything done, genuinely. And so, I guess it's that experience that has made me romanticize all-nighters so much. The other one was at the very end of the Tomozaki video, which that one was great. I finished the entire fucking video, entered rendering hell, which took a few more days after that, because of course it did. And, it's an even longer video than the one I'm currently working on a much worse computer. The one I'm recording on right now, actually, in the car, my shitty $300 decade-old laptop. That's what rendered the Tomozaki video. And, the sleep that night, when I began rendering it, and just crashed, best sleep I've ever had. I was basically dead. I felt so good after I woke up. I was like, God damn, that was great. But I've never been able to replicate it. After that point, all my all-nighters have been just really shit. They've never gotten the work done that I want them to. They've never been as focused as that Tomozaki all-nighter was. And even the Tomozaki all-nighter had a point where I was like nearing mental breakdown mode, where I was like, oh man, one of the parts of my script doesn't actually work that well. I wasn't able to articulate my thoughts very well. And so I just deleted that part of the script. Maybe if I'd given it more time, I could show my thoughts in a way that made sense and that were good. But, I was in all-nighter mode. I was too tired to re-script, re-voice, re-edit that part of the video. So I just cut it there. And, come to think of it, my editing for that part of the video wasn't even very good. That's the thing. Quality suffers when you're tired and when you just want to get something out. But god damn it, I'm tired, and I just want this video out, and needs to maintain a certain level of quality. But this is going to be my best video. And it'll have to stay my best video for an extremely long time. And to me, that is very painful. My Dungeon Meshi video is a video that I am not proud of. It is a video that I made in a week because it's a seasonal upload and I need to get it out, reasonably within a certain time span, or else the next episode will come out and render it obsolete. That's actually what happened with the Dungeon Meshi video. Apparently, and I haven't continued Dungeon Meshi yet, even though I know I should, and even though I know it'll be great. But apparently, unbeknownst to me, episode 11 has an insane fucking plot twist that I did not see coming as of episode 10. I still don't even know exactly what happens. All I know is that it goes crazy. Apparently. And so, I would literally say, I don't think, because I ended up uploading that video late, like a day after episode 11 came out, and I was like, look, I don't think anything that happened in episode 11, or at least I doubted, anything that happened in that episode is so crazy that I would need to re-script significant amounts of the video if I saw it. And then it was, apparently. So that's fun. But that's not why I don't like the video. The reason why I don't like the video is because it's just so standard. It's so standard. The editing is mid. It doesn't have much flavor to it. I had gotten a new phone during this period, and it did not record nearly as well as my old one, and I didn't have the money to buy a camera or anything. Now I do, but I've changed my editing style to where I don't need one, so, that's off the shopping list. But I couldn't get much good footage, and, even me drawing, it didn't add that much to the video because the recording quality was just so bad. No one commented on it, by the way. No one said, also, your camera is fucking dog shit and you need to get a new one. No one, as far as I know, said that. Granted, I don't pay that much attention to my comments anymore, but no one mentioned it. Which just goes to show that you can make a mid video and everyone will be like, man, that was a great video. I loved that. That was beautiful. Because people watch YouTube kinda stupidly. And the people who watch it smart enough to realize that, hey, this guy is recording in piss quality and their mic isn't that good, they probably don't care that much. They probably care more about the ideas you're presenting than the literal quality of what you're making, I guess, and in the sense of the recording quality and the voicing quality. Unless it's so bad so as to be unlistenable, right? Or unwatchable. If you can get over that with stylization or just being really well written or voiced or spoken or whatever, no one will mention it, because either they don't realize that there's an issue or they don't care. And that's a reality that I'm just blind to, because I notice it. I notice all the little things that annoy me, and all of a sudden, I'm saying shit like, man, the Dungeon Meshi video, that's my worst one. That video wasn't very good. Even though, while I was scripting it, I was like, man, this is a really good script. I'm like really concise and to the point, and it's got a really gripping intro. You know, it's really good. You know, I was honing everything as far as I thought I could, and you know, there were no mistakes despite it being written in a week, or not even written in a week, written in far less than a week, but still. You know, there were no factual errors to my knowledge in that video. People were like, man, he doesn't know about the horrors, you know? And it's like, yeah, because I was at episode 10. That isn't really an error in the script so much as it is just a product of it still airing as I was writing it, and a product of how it was made. You know, I'm fine enough with that. The main thing is just not having factual errors, and I didn't have any. And I'm happy about that. But at the same time, I look at the presentation of that video and the fact that, you know, even though it's a well-written review, it's not special. If it were to be special, I would have waited until Season 2 came to a close and then make a 40-minute video on why Dungeon Meshi is the greatest fantasy ever written, and blah blah yada yada. That's not going to be successful. It might be successful, but you want to know what gets views? Anything that's topical and of a decent enough quality. That's what gets views. Fucking off for 5 months to make a video on Nyan Neko Sugar Girls isn't gonna bring in the big clicks. I mean, it might. I definitely have faith in this video. I think this video has the possibility to get big. I have more faith in it than a lot of other videos I've put out. I feel strangely confident about this, despite it on paper not really making much sense. And I have a good title for it. I have a really good thumbnail. I love the thumbnail. You know, I think this will go hard, and I think it'll get at least... What I'm aiming for is at least 10,000 views. If it gets 10,000 views, I can say, well, it didn't bang like I wanted it to, but it got more views than typical. And that's enough for me to say that I was on the right track. But I think it could go much higher. But I also can't do that once every 5 months. You can only do that if you're already successful, or if your Patreon is just insane. Right now, the Patreon isn't insane. It's just okay. And so, you know, I know what I need to do, and it's bring down the quality of the videos. And the thing is, if I didn't say that the videos were getting worse, no one would know. No one cares. In fact, most people probably wouldn't even say the videos are getting worse. They'd probably find something about them that's getting better that I, as the creator, can't realize is getting better. That I, in my biased position, can't realize is getting so much better about the videos that everyone is like, man, I'm clamoring for more, and I'm just like, they're getting worse. They aren't big and flashy like the Nyan Neko Sugar Girls video. And another thing I've lost sight of is that these videos were always supposed to play second fiddle to my novel career. And I wrote a novel. I wrote it in 2.5 months. I have that done. That's part of the reason why the Nyan Neko Sugar Girls video took so long. Because half of that time was spent writing a book. But, even still, like, I still, it's in my nature to make everything as good as possible. And I need to get over that. I need to be okay with being a little mid. And I've known this for a long time. I even said at the end of my V3 video, hey, I'm gonna make some shit seasonal videos. And then I didn't. Because I don't want to make shit seasonal videos. I want to diversify what I talk about, because I think I will go insane if I have to every season watch 3 seasonals and keep up with them and be like, man, this seasonal, it's good, it do be good though, and then say nothing of interest about it. I can't imagine living my YouTube career like that. It's just not in my blood. And if it was in my blood, I probably wouldn't want to be a YouTuber. I'd probably want to be something else, but I'm an artiste, goddammit, and so that sounds unappealing. It doesn't appeal to the bagel. But a little bit of that does need to appeal to me. Or at the very least, I need to make the concession. That's the first thing. The second thing I need to do is ask for less hours, goddammit. No, I took a step in the right direction, asking for unpaid time off, and getting granted it. I need to cap my hours at 20 a week. I need to ask for that, and with corporate cutting hours so aggressively, it'll probably go down fine. Another reason why I'm working so much is because people, for a long time, I had this hunch, but it wasn't confirmed until this morning. This morning, I overheard one of my coworkers telling another, crunchy bagels. They didn't say that, obviously, but, I'm less and less comfortable saying my real name, okay? But Crunchy Bagels has saved our ass more in 2 weeks than, and then either the sentence stopped there, or I stopped hearing it, but I'm pretty sure this person just stopped talking and left the sentence there. But the implication is, I have covered more shifts in that time than, everyone else at the company would in insert much longer amount of time. That was the impression I got, and it was finally confirmed. And it's not just because I'm so great. This isn't even a brag. It's that everyone else has fucking kids. I wouldn't even say most of. But a lot of my coworkers have families to care for. They even bring their kids to this restaurant and I see them. And one of them was sitting in the office of the store manager. And their kid was, funnily enough, playing Geometry Dash, and they were, every 5 minutes or so, they'd get up from the chair, walk up to me, and ask, how do you spell this word? And they, don't know how to talk very well, because they're, just getting out of that toddler phase, and so I would barely be able to understand them, and I'd have to, say... I have to have him repeat it over and over again, but eventually I'd get what he was trying to spell, and I'd spell it for him. That was a fun time. Most of work isn't that fun, but that part of my shift was pretty fun. And so that's another reason why I work so goddamn much. And I am very afraid of getting called into work over the next 5 days. And the way I phrased it to myself is, over these next few days, while you're grinding on this video, you gotta heed the words of Renai Circulation, of the very beginning of that song. Nariko says, seno. You just gotta seno. If they ask you to come into work, you gotta seno. Just do that. That's the strat. That's how I convince myself to do these things. And then right after that happens, they called me in and I said yes. So, not over these 5 days, but, you know, I had already, like, sort of gotten down the strategy. It was, like, a few days ago, and then they were like, hey, Faye, wanna come into work? And I'm like, yeah, I can come into work. It's whatever. So, in conclusion, that's why I can't be a kid anymore. Because before, I used to be irresponsible and not use my free time well. And now I don't have any free time. And it's painful because I know if I went back to having all hours of the day free, that I would just... I would be motivated enough to do YouTube all the time. Getting a real job has lit a fire under my ass. Because I've realized, oh, this is what it's like. It's one thing to think, I'm not cut out for a real job, I think it would be painful, therefore I want to do YouTube. Or being a novelist. Either works, both work. Honestly, like, I'd much rather be a novelist. If I'm doing YouTube, I'm doing novels on the side. If I'm doing novels, I'm probably not doing YouTube on the side. I'm gonna keep it a buck with you. But the reality is I'm probably gonna use YouTube to advertise my novels. That's the current plan, anyway. Which is why I'm working so damn hard on this video. So, I have the fire lit under my ass. And I know that if I quit the job, that fire would still be there. Because I know, I have first-hand experience. Man, this sucks. I hate this job. I hate working a real job. But I also know that the people in my life really want me to have an income. You know, I've had to have a family member talk me out of quitting my job. And they did, albeit I was very distraught at the time that I had to continue working on it. But I eventually did say, fine, I'll work this fucking job. And for now, I'm still doing that. Let's hope I get big enough on this site that I don't have to do that. But until that point, I will probably have very sparse amounts of free time. And that's what being an adult is all about. You know, I used to think to myself, like, man, I'm lonely, I want a girlfriend, I want to have a blossoming relationship. God damn, I don't know if I have time for that anymore. Fuck the girlfriend. And I don't mean it in the fuck them way. I mean it in the fuck having that. I need the time. You know, it sounds kind of sociopathic to say it this way. But having a girlfriend is kind of like having another job on top of the two I already have. There's not enough hours in the day to nurture that relationship to the extent that would be necessary. You know, I'm already ghosting my friends on Discord all the time. I just talked to my IRL friend for the first time in probably, like, over a week, if I'm talking about serious conversations. Maybe over 2 weeks at this point. I'm losing track of the hours, of the days, the weeks. They all blend together now. No, I'm ghosting the shit out of everyone. I haven't been on VC for over half a month. And so, the idea of, like, you know, I can do that to friends, because I'm an asshole. Can't do that to a girlfriend, right? It kind of hits differently in that scenario. So yeah, fuck that for now. Unless they want to be the 8-hour working... fucking, I don't know, office lady or some shit. Maybe she has a job she enjoys and I can be the femboy house husband. I'd be down for that at this point. It means I can work on art all day and all I have to do is, like, a few hours of chores every day. Just have to cook for someone. Man, I'm down. So yeah, if you have that, hit me up. Otherwise, I'm too busy. The sought-after bagel. Meanwhile, like, 30 people are gonna listen to this, and none of them will be women. And with that, we're getting to about an hour of recording. I'm feeling a bit more energetic, so I think I will be able to get some episodes of my adventures with Superman down the hatch before I inevitably sleep for like 10 hours and then begin my grind. I will not be recording another one of these for a bit. You will probably, in fact, see this uploaded at least a day after I record it, if not a few, because once again, I'm only re-listening to this once I get once I'm editing and have this on in the background. In the meantime, thanks for listening. The next one will be patron exclusive, probably only recording it once I'm done with the video, and that one might be a bit more cheerful, a bit less, holy shit, the future is scary, I don't want to be an adult, I hate my job. Maybe a bit less of that, a bit less of, hey, I'm having a mental breakdown here, and a bit more, I don't know, a bit more, hey, I got the fucking video done. I'm happy about that. But until then, hopefully I get it done on time, hopefully this doesn't age poorly, and with that, see ya.